still train like a singles player. Your drills are like a singles player. Your old training techniques are like a single player. Now I'm
Yeah.
intrigued as to why.
Because see, in doubles, it requires a different set of skills. But
Yeah.
physically, it's a bit easier on you than it is when you're playing singles because you're covering half the court. It's but obvious.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that doubles players are worse or singles players are worse or anything. It just means it's different sets of skills.
Yeah.
But all my life I played singles and doubles. Like all my life, basically from the time I turned pro, which was in 2003 till 2013, I think it was when I made the decision. But 2003 is when I turned pro. I played juniors also, singles and doubles. I won junior Wimbledon. So basically for 20 years I played singles and doubles. So I was used to a way of training, and I suddenly could not cut down on the training because it required physically less of me. I just could not do that. Also, and not really for weight reasons, but I think it just didn't make me feel satisfied. When I would finish training, I had to feel that I would still, work and put my absolute 100 when my body feels really tired at night. So only for that reason, and the very fact that I was able to do it. If I wasn't able to do it, I wouldn't do it. I think that's important to listen to your body, and my body was allowing me to do it until I had the baby. I have to say my training has changed a little bit after the baby.
So this was nothing from a coach or your father. This is just how you
No,
felt.
this is a self thing, because actually they would tell me that I'm overtraining sometimes. That they would tell me कि why you don't need to do this drill, because in when a doubles match you would not need to do this movement, for example. But I didn't really believe that. I believe be ready. Like I should be ready, and it cannot cause me harm as long as my body is
True,
with me. So
true, true. And also, I've read that your forehand, which is, I mean, the whole country is mad about your forehand, is not something which is technically correct to be taught to kids. There's a very different way of how Sania Mirza hits the forehand, and you cannot teach kids to do that. Is that correct?
I don't know if you can't teach kids to do that. I think that normally people don't. I don't like today's tennis. I don't know if you play any tennis or the viewers here,
Sometimes
but
I
yeah,
hit all the balls out.
yeah. It's if your technique is not right, it's difficult. A lot of people
Yeah,
don't understand that until they play how difficult it is to
true,
put the ball in the
true,
court. But
true.
for example, I'm very hypermobile, so my joints are extremely hypermobile. So there is a certain way that my wrist joints move that a lot of people who are not hypermobile can't move like that. So
Okay,
necessarily what works for me with my grip, the way I play, is not necessarily what you want to teach everybody else or any single person who's not that hypermobile, for example. So I always say my forehand is more natural, like 60-70% natural and 30-40%
yeah,
taught, rather than the
yeah.
other way around.
And was there a time when growing up, somebody told you, no, you should go back to basic and not try this,
Yeah.
it'll hurt you? There were?
So many coaches, so many coaches. And actually I used to have an extremely Western grip. I don't know if you know what that means. The Western means you completely hold the racket like this is the racket, and you put your grip is like this. Imagine I'm hitting with this, your wrist like would absolutely break. So I
Yeah,
used to hit, that's how I naturally started to play. And then they slowly brought my grip back, and it became kind of semi-Western, not very
okay,
extreme Western. But after that, I refused. Matlab, even when I was 10 years old, I said, I'm not going to go more. I just refused. And my dad, I mean, they all tried, including my father. Everybody, they were like, everybody said that it's technically not right. It's not. And that too, we're talking about over 20 years ago when Western
yeah,
grips were really not happening. Like, I mean, it used to be very continental and stuff. So,
okay.
yeah, so I refused. After a certain point, I said, I'm not going to change it. And yeah, and rest is history, I guess.
It is indeed. So now, before we get to the third question, I want to ask you something. Did you ever see yourself playing as doubles, or was your training and mindset when you were younger only to play singles?
It was to play both, because that's why I continued to play both. But when I got to 27 in the world in singles, and I had a few surgeries, like 3 times, my it just took a really bad toll on my body. And so when I stopped playing singles, I was still about 70 or 80 in the world in singles, which was still by far the best that anyone had ever played. But I knew
True.
that that was
True.
not my potential. Like, I knew
Yeah.
that my potential was not to be 80 in the world. My potential, even at that point, was to be 20 or 25 or top 20. But my body was not allowing me to train. So that's
Okay.
when I made the decision to say, okay, do I want to be number one in the world, or do I want to be mediocre and be 80, 90 with, a lot of injuries, and I'll probably have to quit in the next couple of years. So that's when I had to make a conscious decision. But all my life I trained for, I think, more singles, and then obviously doubles kind of came along.
So this question third is a difficult one for you then, once you've answered this.
Okay.
So 27 in the world, beaten the likes of Martina Hingis, Kuznetsova, Azarenka, I mean, to name the few, having a very promising career, and because of whatever you said right now and injuries, had to adapt to play doubles. Now you come to play doubles and you win 6 Grand Slam, easy.
Easy.
Now, would you say that for you, of course? So would you say that winning those 6 Grand Slam was the best thing that happened to you, or would you swap all of it to have an extended singles career?
No, I would want to be number one in the world, which I did.
And
It was
that's
the right
exactly
call.
what happened. Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
what happened when you won 6 Grand Slam.
Yeah.
That crazy
Yeah.
unbeaten streak. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that as athletes, I think we all, all of us, when we are young and we dream, we want to be the best in the world. That's what we dream of always. Nobody
True.
dreams of being
True.
nobody really dreams of being, okay, I want to be 30. Like, nobody dreams of that. You dream that you want to be the best, or the best that you can be. And
True.
I knew that I could be number one in the world in doubles. And for me, being number one in the world is probably the biggest achievement. It's one of the biggest goals I had. So I would not.
For the whole country, not for you,
Thank
for the
you.
whole country.
So no, I would not
So,
swap it.
okay, great. Okay, now rank the following in order of the most challenging to deal with or to work for. So I'll throw you 5 things that you have to, and of course, the first being the most toughest. Okay. The first one, playing singles. The second one, raising a child.
Okay.
The third one, being the wife of an athlete who plays a different sports, is away all the time, and is not from your country. Fourth is playing doubles. And the fifth is social media trolls.
So toughest, right? I have to go 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. The toughest first.
So I think you didn't put giving birth. I'm gonna put giving birth and then raising a child at number 1.
Okay, so giving birth and raising child comes together.
And
Yeah,
then
that's
raising
one
a
question.
child.
Yeah.
That's number 1.
Okay.
That is by far the toughest thing that a woman can do, I think, is to, give birth and then re kind of poop. Being married to a person who lives in a different country and plays professional sport. I know that a lot of people see the really good and really happy and the green part of it, saying, okay, it's so good, they both play a sport. And I mean, sure, some things are really, really, really easy. For example, like when you have a bad day, the other person knows they should not be talking to you.
True.
Like, for
True.
example,
True.
something
Yeah.
silly like that. But there are so many difficulties. I mean, you both come from extremely strong-headed mindsets. You come from, you both are doing something which is so high pressured. You're representing
True.
your respective countries. You're in a high pressure job where you're constantly winning and losing and winning. There's no other job that makes you do that. So constantly
True.
dealing with those emotions, it's tough. It's very tough. Number 3 is playing singles. Number 4 is playing doubles. And number 5 is dealing with trolls. But I'm just putting it there. I don't find it hard, actually. I find it pretty funny dealing with trolls. But since it's in the list, I'm putting it there.
And was there a time when you thought, it's okay, I will answer them? Or did it came just like that? Or you thought about it that let me give it back to them?
No. Actually, never. So there'll be like one day in maybe 6 months where I'll wake up from the wrong side of the bed and I'll be like, yeah, like I'll just reply to one person, you know. I mean, but how are you going to reply?
ज़्यादा
There are so many, yeah. But that's
ज़्यादा
the
हो गया.
human in me. Huh, that's the
Yeah,
human in me. But most, like I'm gonna say 99% of the time, I actually find them pretty hilarious. Like I think they're really funny because I
some of them are.
feel,
Yeah,
yeah, some of them are so funny. Like,
yeah,
and so many times we have a family group. I send the screenshot sometimes on the family group and with laughing symbols because I'm like, I can't believe this person, is saying this. But actually, on a more serious note, I think that acknowledgement to trolls is not something I believe in. I
okay,
just believe that when you reciprocate to them or when you reply to them on a daily basis, that's what they want
yeah,
from you. Uh,
true.
they want that verification and that acknowledgement. And I really don't think, they are such low lives and they're like losers, poor people. They're sitting and like they're so like full of hatred and like they're hating on people they've never met. So yeah, I find it like I don't think that we should give them any acknowledgement.
All right. So only the few ones who really annoy you some days when your mood is not right get an answer.
Actually, they don't even annoy me. I think it's more that I wake up on the wrong side of the bed. It's not even,
Yeah,
there are probably
yeah,
people who have said worse things to me, which I have laughed off. And then there'll be a couple,
yeah,
कि उस दिन मतलब मेरी दिमाग घुमा हुआ होता है, then I'm like, इसको तो मैं आज reply करके दूंगी. It's just a timing issue, I think.
yeah. Good one. All right. So let's not give any importance to trolls. My
Do
fifth question
you,
to
do
you
you,
is,
sorry, do you give importance to trolls?
I haven't yet. I do
Good.
get boiled up sometimes. I think I'm more matured now. When I was younger, I used to get
Yeah,
really, really pissed because you
yeah.
think that, see, the thing is, when we lose, we don't want to lose. So we are the worst
Yes,
affected.
I know. They think that we want
So,
to lose somehow. I don't know
yeah.
why.
So you're already so mad that you lost and probably played bad because even when you play bad, you know you have played bad. We always
Yeah,
know when we have played bad.
yeah.
And then when you get onto this and when people are abusing you sometimes, but then now probably because I'm a little bit matured, I let it go. ठीक है यार गाली दे रहा खुश होने दे घर पर है मैच
Yeah,
देख रहा होगा परेशान है गाली दे दे कोई नहीं I only get pissed when the abusers go from me to my parents or my family.
yeah,
That's something that's a big no. You can say whatever about me. I played bad. I'm the worst. He's getting old. He
yeah.
can't
But
score. I,
don't you think that the trolls now are not so much about how we play? It's about everything else in our life. Okay, why is she wearing this? Why is she doing this? Why is she talking like this? Why is her hair like this? Why is she going to a dinner? Why is she going to this restaurant? Matlab, it has nothing to do with who we are. We are athletes. Like you play football, I play tennis. You can comment about my tennis. You can comment about how good or bad I played. Even that your opinion is means very little, but still you can still do it. But
yeah,
when you start to comment about why are you making your child, why are you holding your child, can you imagine people, why are you holding your child like this? Matlab, they are questioning why I'm holding my own child a certain way. Why can't she hold her child this way? Why has she put that on her child? Like there is no, that's when it
I know.
actually gets me also. But you just have to laugh it off. There's no other choice.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's all you can do actually. And also, the worst is when you do reply because there's sometimes I think let's reply, but then there is no right way of replying from our sides.
Yeah.
Whatever I say probably would be wrong. So I said, leave it, relax.
And then
So I
suddenly
forget it.
there's a newspaper article within 30
Yeah,
seconds of that reply.
yeah, 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 yeah. You can't reply. Yeah, you can't reply. It's simple. But I think that's a very small price or that you have to pay for being who you are. And that's all right.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And I think that that's one of the cons of being a public figure, which is
yeah,
fine. I mean,
yeah.
we have a lot of pros that come with our lifestyle and with who we
Lots and
are.
lots
So
of
there
pros.
are
Yeah,
some cons that are there, and that's
yeah,
one of the cons. So it's okay.
yeah, yeah. So let's not give more importance to the trolls. Now, my next question to you is the fifth one. You always been somebody who always spoke her mind, no matter
Yeah.
what. Always. And I've been following you from right when 2003 you started to now. Is there anything that you wish you could change or not speak or said differently when you think about everything that you have spoken?
I don't know like a specific thing, but in general, I think I should have been little less honest.
Wow. And why do
I
you say
think
that?
that because I think that I mean I became like how do you say, I became a public figure, or I came into like dealing with the media and stuff at a very young age. I was only 16
Yes.
when the first time.
Yes.
So I had to grow up in this limelight. So I also had to kind of learn how to deal with it. And as a 16-year-old, as a normal 16, 17, 18-year-old, all your biggest issues of all my friends were where they can meet their boyfriend at which coffee shop. I mean, and my issues were much larger than that. Matlab, they were asking me politically inclined questions and things that had nothing to do with what I was doing. And I sort of had to, learn along the way and grow up in that limelight. So it was not easy. And I think I like today also, like I think today I'm still honest, but I feel that as a 33-year-old, I can weigh the words a bit better than I used to be able to weigh at that point, even though the honesty behind it was 100%, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So
It
I
does.
think that,
It
yeah,
does.
so I think that that's what I would like to change is that, like, my parents gave me the freedom of saying, be who you are and
Yeah.
be honest. That's what they taught us, and that's what they still teach us, and that's what I want to teach my son. But as an 18-year-old, I think people found it a little bit more threatening when someone was that honest and opinionated as what they'd find it at 33, for example. So
Yeah. True. That's nice. So now we have done with 5 questions, and I've got a small rapid fire. Of course, not every day I would get Sania Mirza to come on live with me, so I'm taking a little bit liberty. This is
okay,
not a part
that's
of
fine.
the questions. It is just a rapid fire.
Okay.
I don't have to say you rapid fire what it means because you're always fiery. So let's start.
Okay, let's go.
Your least liked Grand Slam.
French Open, Roland Garros.
Okay. And I will not ask you why. It's just a rapid fire.
It's the worst
Second one.
surface for me. It's nothing personal. I don't like the
Okay.
surface.
Okay. See that I tricked you in this. I needed the answer and I tricked you in that. Sunil Chetri 1, Sania Mirza 0. All right, next one.
See, I'm still as honest as when I was 16. I still can't control myself.
We like that. We like that. The second one. The one player you would kill to have as a partner for doubles and mixed doubles, two different players.
I mean, I've been lucky enough to have that partner already, which was Roger Federer. So I've already played with him. So, I mean, I'll say him for mixed. And for women's doubles, I mean, it would be amazing to play with Serena, maybe. I played against her a few times, so it would be pretty amazing to play with her.
Great. That's a good answer. Oh, that's an amazing answer. Roger Federer and Serena Williams. It'll be good to watch you. I hope it happens.
I know, me and Roger, I mean, I had that opportunity to play with Roger, and it was so much fun. I had the best seat in the house. That's all I can say. So, I mean, it was like, it was amazing.
He makes it look effortless, man. He's
a freak. Like, he's a genius. You can't, there's no, there's no comparison of what he can do with the tennis ball.
True. All right, the next one. Now, this is a good one. Imagine you are in trouble. I hope it never happens, but you're in trouble. And it would take someone to hit 3 straight aces in a game. Who would you turn up to?
Karlovic.
Ah.
He's 6'10". I don't know how many.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm saying, but they should Google him. Then they'll know why I said that answer.
Yeah, big server.
Yeah, huge. He's like 6'9" or 6'10".
Okay. Now the fourth one, I'm sorry I'm giving them again importance, but in one word, you have to describe trolls.
My source of entertainment during lockdown.
You gave them so much of importance now. I'm sorry. Okay, the fifth one. One attribute of a player that you would love to have in your locker.
I think raw fighting spirit of Rafael Nadal. Like that, like my emotion is, I don't show that much emotion on the court. And he shows so much emotion, like that raw sort of effort and like thing where you feel that he feels that every point is the last point.
True. You can see that, 5 setters. Even though if he loses the first 2, he's still in the game. Not giving up on anything. Yeah.
And you know that like the longer the match is going, the more chance of
The
you
more
winning.
chances of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Okay. The craziest partner you have had in all the right reasons, though.
Bethany Marek Sands. She's also one of my
Okay.
closest friends. We've had
Okay.
some amazing results together. She has, she's crazy because if anybody ever Googles her, you'll know she never has normal hair. She has pink, blue. She'll wear like leopard print and she plays like. And I was like completely opposite, the most like conservative, like dressed person, and she would come like complete. I mean, like almost wearing like a half bikini and coming and playing on the court and with like leopard print. Yeah, crazy, crazy, amazing girl. She's one of my best friends on the tour.
Okay. So the seventh one is the nicest person in the circuit. Like proper nice.
That's a tough one. Proper,
Yeah.
very nice.
The nicest among all of them that you know of.
I think that Rafa is a really, really nice guy, Rafael Nadal. Given the amount of achievement that he has and given the amount of, I think he's an amazing ambassador for the game. But also when the cameras are not on, like, I've had the opportunity to be around him, and he's a
Yeah.
really, really.
Yeah. And also a big football fan he is.
How can he not be?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Okay. Your most precious slam win and why?
Definitely Wimbledon. Because I think that as a child you always dream of playing Wimbledon. Matlab, you dream of many things, but nobody. There's very few people that not. I shouldn't say nobody, but there's fewer people who dream of saying, "I want to win," say Roland Garros. I want to win Australia. People dream of always being at Wimbledon and playing Wimbledon. It's like, it's got that charm to it. And
Yeah.
for me, when I won it in the juniors, and then when we, I played one of my biggest matches in singles over there against Kuznetsova, even though I lost that match, which was 2 months after I beat her in February, a few months after, not two. And I lost, I think, 6-4 in the third set. It was on center court. It was one of the best experiences of my life, to be there and to be present there. And then to later go on and win Wimbledon with Martina was... really, really, it was like I'm telling you, I'm getting goosebumps as I'm talking to you right now, because we were down 5-2 in the third set, and we had almost
We saw
lost
that.
the match. And,
Yes.
and when we came back, and
5-5.
it was like a movie, because at 5-all we had to go inside. It got dark, and then when we came out,
Yes.
we got a standing ovation of the entire center court. Yeah, it was one of the most special moments of my life.
What were you and Martina talking inside when there was a break, the momentum went down? What are the talks like?
Well, first of all, we were both cramping. Okay, we both started cramping a little bit. My calf was cramping. She was cramping like in her hamstring or something. We had 2 physios like rubbing us down, because we knew we had like half an hour. And then we were like laughing, and we had come back from